Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Canadian Football Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans. And we have a bit of an exciting video here. We're talking about some of the news coming out of Edmonton that we've been hearing. And we figured that we needed to bring in our Edmonton Elks expert, Scout. Scout, thanks for joining the show.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me, Carter and Rick. Always great chatting with you on the Canadian Football Central.
Oh yeah, well, and I told you, I'm like, when this he is our designated Elks guy. Whenever we got Elks stuff, we call you. So it came out, I guess a few.
It had been last week's game.
I think it was Thursday. Yeah, I saw this at last week's game. Kind of a number of changes that had been made, and I'm gonna kind of go through all of them, and then I figured maybe you could talk about some of them, and then if there's anything else you got to add on, you could do that if that works. So this is I saw from Paul Amita. No Elks logo on the stadium wall. That is being removed. The uniforms are back to the traditional colors. We did a video on that, and you should check that out if you haven't already. But and the new unis, they were. It's funny. I say new, but like they're new but old. It's so. Kind of like when the Jets do the heritage jerseys. They're new but old. But yeah, back to the traditional colors. Very much Eskimos whole way through. Not a hint of Elks except the name. Spike, the Elks mascot, gone. Nanook, the old mascot from the Edmonton Eskimos, back. The old fire truck with Edmonton Eskimos on the side, back. So they are the Elks in name only, and about nothing else. What like? Because I mean, you're a season ticket holder. You're at all the games. I'm pretty sure you're at all the tailgates, I believe, as well, right?
Correct. And I mean, our show, the Elks Call, our slogan is "We are your home for Edmonton Elks fan talk." So we've definitely talked to a couple of fans on this now. You know, let's kind of back ourselves up here. Let's take a look at the uniforms.
Yeah.
Very throwback. You got some double E's on the sleeves. You have the gold numbers back, the white outline on the numbers. You have your shoulder.
That to me, that was one of kind of the staples of the old jerseys.
Well, and I mean, really, if we take a look at how the Edmonton Elks rebranded to begin with in 2021, simply put, they got too far away from what the team's roots actually are, right? People wanted to go to Commonwealth Stadium to watch green and gold double E football. Obviously, we knew at that time that we weren't going to have the Eskimos moniker anymore. So people were showing up to watch their green and gold football product. Now, you know, fast forward to now, you take a look at what's been done with this branding. Well, to start with these uniforms, like we said, these are close to 1990s throwbacks. If you look at how these have been designed, the traditional shoulder stripes, you know, even right down to, let's say, the double E's on the sleeves. It's all very traditional, the gold numbers being back. So that's a big, you know, nod towards the Eskimos. And then you also take a look at how much Edmonton Elks branding has been removed. Even right on the uniforms themselves, nowhere. It says Edmonton on the front. There's nowhere where it actually says Elks.
Yeah, because they used to have the Elks, because it was kind of strange, because a lot of teams now with the Bombers, they do blue Bombers across. But even if you look at like BC, they'll have British Columbia written out. Usually, like sometimes you'll get the team name if it's a longer team name, like Blue Bombers written across the top. But majority of the time, it's the city name. Elks was kind of the very strange case of just a 4-letter word being written just very noticeably at the, like, it was kind of very in your face almost at the top of the jersey, and I see that you guys have gone back.
Yeah, and I mean, Edmonton is what this team has been trying to celebrate the whole time. It's hard to have a marketing scheme around, you know, Edmonton when Elks is being thrown in your face so much, and especially for fans of the old name. So,
well, yeah, especially anyone upset with that, yeah.
Exactly. So this has been Larry Thompson's way of, you know, trying to find the middle ground between everybody. Now, what I will say is it looks extremely weird at Commonwealth Stadium. It's great to have it back. It does it does feel like a modern twist on Eskimos. Like you said, this team is Edmonton Elks in name only at this point. I mean, when Nanook comes out on the fire truck and the fire truck is branded Edmonton Eskimos,
And it still says it on the side, just confirming? Like it still says
110%.
Yeah, there was no changes to that. Okay. No, that's just good to clarify that.
Yeah, I mean it's the fire truck looks like the original state that it was in, say, 10 years ago. And it's
Wow.
not the miniature replica version, which is now sitting in the kids club. No, this is the original fire truck. And it's one of the small twists that Larry Thompson is throwing, from what he wants to see as ownership. This is him putting his touches on it. But it does look like the team has a bit of an identity crisis right now, especially when the Elks branding has been thrown in your face for so long. And then, to kind of add to that too, Spike the mascot is now gone. We don't know if we're going to see Spike, and I don't think we will. I hope we do. But the reality is that this team is slowly but surely shifting to full-on Eskimos.
So I guess one of the questions would be, so firstly, what do people think about it? And then secondly, kind of, do you, like, at least, I guess I also just kind of want your opinion. I'm just curious what you'd think of the idea of if they kind of use both mascots. Because if I think of like for Winnipeg, for example, they use in both the Jets and the Bombers, but very much the Bombers even more so. They have Buzz and Boomer for the Bombers. And one of the reasons they like doing this is especially when you're dealing with a football stadium with how large it is, you can't be everywhere at once, and so it's easier to have two of them because then there's more interactions with the kids with at least one of them being around the stadium. Now with the Jets, it's a bit of a unique situation as they use Mickey Moose from the time of when they had the Manitoba Moose when the Jets came back, but then they did bring back the Jets' old mascot into the whole situation as well. So now they got kind of both eras of the Winnipeg Jets. So is that because I mean you said that's something I believe you said, I don't want to misrepresent you. I'm pretty sure you said that's something you'd like to see. But what is kind of, I guess, some of the opinions from anyone you've talked to, whether it's in the tailgate, in the building, just kind of the Elks? What's kind of the consensus that it's looking at, or is it much more divided on this?
Well, okay, and that's a great question. To put the mascot thing to rest, the Edmonton Elks and the Eskimos have always had two mascots. It's Punter and Duck, or it's Punter and Spike. So all
my
good.
Apologies.
No, all good.
This is just my ignorance.
No, people for whatever reason think Punter looks like a potato. So I mean, there's a different debate to have on that.
Okay, now I gotta search this up.
Yes, but as far as the opinion on a potential name change, or even just these branding changes that are happening, you have a very mixed bag right now, which is interesting. You do have a lot of fans that want to see the old name back.
Yep.
People will go as far as to claim that they'll buy 6 season tickets to get the old name back. When really the problem with this team is the fact that they don't win very often over the last 4
well, that was kind of one of the things that me and Rick were talking about kind of in our review with the Edmonton Elks is that as much as I imagine that branding of this team, like it's important to have good branding of your team. It's important to have an identity, something that brings people in. One of the things I said that's been a problem, not even just for the Elks, just for the league as a whole, is it would be nice to see a couple long-term contracts start to come back when the team changes so drastically year to year, where you come back and for the casual fans, having no idea who anyone is, it's harder to build a brand on that when it's so volatile. If there is more kind of brand staples, it's easier to market. But the other thing is that...
A jersey, sorry, Carter, I really didn't mean to cut you off, but like, how do you buy a jersey every 1 or 2 years because your favorite player keeps on getting traded?
That's a great example. Yep.
Those kind of little nuances with these short 1-2 year deals. We want to see 3, 4, 5. So
I feel like I can get an Oliveira jersey, but past that, maybe Castillo, I don't know. When it comes to even Winnipeg, and Winnipeg has had relative stability in terms of being able to retain a lot of their players, but they're still retaining them year by year, which gives people kind of that uncertainty. In the sense of, I think there's a lot of people that would not have maybe expected Adam Bighill to be gone. Well, here we are. Now he's in Calgary. And so, but the other thing of that, there's the branding side of it, but then there's the other side of it is people want to see the team win. So if the team's not winning, that like as much as like how much of a factor I guess could be, people can debate about that, but it's got to be a factor, I imagine.
Well, and I can
Especially with the
speak
Elks'
on even
history and
just
how good you guys
well,
were.
well, exactly. And you take a look at what this building, Commonwealth Stadium, looked like on, let's say, Thursday, and you have all of these branding changes. It looked like we were watching the Eskimos, but they weren't winning, and you only had 14,000 people in the building at that time to watch this performance. And I can
Yeah.
tell you right now, I've never seen an Edmonton Eskimos game with 14,000. I think the lowest I've ever seen from the old Double E is like 24,000, might have been the lowest attendance, and that's because it was a really bad day. We're seeing
And that's a great
10,000
number right there,
less.
24. Like that's very good. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was like, let's say 10, 8, 9 years ago. It's somewhere in there, right? It maybe even 7, maybe even 2019. But and I mean, there are a lot of factors. And winning is probably the biggest one on this team. Why we're seeing these kind of attendances, but going through this identity crisis isn't really the best look right now. And I love this team. I love this team, to the
Yeah.
bottom of my core. But the reality is that there is an identity crisis right now.
Yep.
It's going to be a weird year. And I think we're going to find out a lot more about any potential name change at the end of this offseason.
At the end of the season. Yeah.
And then, we're already maybe potentially in for another season without playoffs. The outlook is very bleak right now in Edmonton already, just for on-field performance, let alone
not even that far in.
Not even that far in. I mean, this team can still get it together. There's no
I mean, they've played 2 games so far, I think? Like
3 games.
3 games.
So we are, I believe, should be 0-3. We're 0-3. No, 0-2. It's 0-2, a loss against BC.
And
I'm not counting this game upcoming against Winnipeg as an 0-3, but I have a feeling that it may be. Sorry, I was amiss.
The Terrell Ford return to Winnipeg, that is.
Maybe he balls out and we get some great interceptions and Zach Laros takes a seat. And it can happen.
I've seen the Terrell Ford get interceptions. I know it's possible. It's funny. It's kind of the exact same feeling for us Bomber fans of when we played against Calgary right after we lost to Mario Houston. This is before he went, and had all the problems that he's, dealt with down in the States. But it was very much like he had like a breakout year, goes to Calgary, and then we play against them. And I was like, I don't want to. Like, I've seen how good he is. I don't want it to be against us now. So,
yeah. Who knows? I mean, I'm a believer. I think that it can happen, but little sneak preview to the Elks call. We're going to be breaking that one down. A little plug.
That's fair.
Here, yeah, we're definitely going to be talking about that game a little bit more, and I'm sure you will be too on this week's episode.
Yeah. Has there been anything? Rick, did you have something? I wanted to.
Yeah, just a couple of things. So here's my scout again. Don't mean to shoot anything towards your way.
Shoot it.
Here's my problem with this team.
Move the camera slightly so I can see. I'm like, where is he? Okay. There he is.
So here's my problem with this team. Is they spent too much money on defense, not enough money on offense, and by the end of the season, you will know if Trey Ford's your future or not. Because as long as he's not throwing touchdowns, he's not the franchise quarterback. He's, in my honest opinion, I think he's regressed over what I've seen so far.
Great time to talk about this. And what we need to realize with this team is that they are immature in many, many ways. This team lacks maturity on sides of the ball and sides of the turf, and even like sides of the white line of the borders. Mark Killam is coming in as a first-time head coach. He's trying to work through a system that features veterans, which is great, but then also rookie coaches as well, such as J.C. Shirt, great linebacker. But, he's also trying to cut his teeth as a coordinator, as a defensive coordinator.
I think that was something that we had talked about recently, is kind of like, well, especially like if I look over at the Elks defense, on paper, there's some serious talent there. From the secondary to the linebackers to the defensive line that's like over $500,000, I think, just sitting on like 3 guys there with the majority on Brinkman and Serezna, and then pick somebody else, and now you've cracked 500,000. And so it's like, I don't know if is it very much, is it like that they don't feel like they have the tools, or do you need a different repairman? Or is there like a coaching issue where it's just a guy who's not able to fit it all together? I don't know.
Well, this is a situation where the Edmonton Elks have hit the reset button on their team once again. And they had to for multiple reasons, right? Ownership change is a small part of that, but then an organizational shift. And then, next man wants his man, and next man wants his man, and so on and so forth. So that's where we have Chris Morris, and then we have Ed Hervey, and then we have Mark Kill. And I don't think that this is the bad choice at all, but I do think that this team needs time. And the Edmonton Elks are in for a heck of a 3 years. Looking at the product that we have now, I mean, I think going in, you can be optimistic, but you have to also recognize where this team is going to be immature. This team is going to make mistakes. You take a look at this last game against the Montreal Alouettes to go 0-2. The Edmonton Elks decided to kick an onside kick with 13 minutes left, only down by 2 majors. And when you see calls like that, it screams rookie coach. So Mark Killam needs to get the wind under his wings. That's going to be step one. Step two, Trey Ford, and good point here, Rick. He does kind of look like he's regressed, but I also think that offensive line is pretty leaky right now. They just took another big hit in losing David Beard at center. So luckily, Mark Cordy is very familiar with playing center, and that's going to be, a bit of a critical driver for them in this game coming up. A player to watch, Mark Cordy, giving it to you now. But the reality is that this team is going to require quite a bit of time to get going. We might not see a win until game 5, game 6. It could be actually maybe game 4. And it could be as early as game 3, which is against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. But bottom line, the team needs to gel. It doesn't look like they're very cohesive. It looks like, some of these defensive schemes too, like Montreal made it look easy. In that first quarter against Montreal, simply put, as a fan watching that game, watching what was happening, watching, a bit of vanilla defense against a juggernaut offense that's already started their season, I believe, at 2-0, I think at that point. So, you take a look at what Montreal's done, you take a look at what the Edmonton Elks need to do, and you recognize how big that gap is there.
Yeah.
The team is going to need, 2 to 3 years to see a real big payoff. Now, for this year, I think that this team can get there. The team needs to find cohesion sooner than later, and it's not going to happen without time.
Yeah, and that's where, I guess, it kind of going back to where we were before, in the sense, I think there needs to be direction, whether it's with the branding, whether it's with the on-field product, whether it's with players, whether it's with coaching staff, whether it's with marketing. I feel like that's kind of one of the best things you can have for a stable kind of thriving franchise. Like, I've been kind of very fortunate with that the Bombers have kind of done as well as they have in the past few years, and a lot of that is they've been able to keep, for the most part, relatively the same core, which is pretty easy to market to people. If we're looking at coaching staff, we've had offensive and defensive coordinators come in and out. It's always been O'Shea running the ship. And I'll put it this way. If you like the old kind of 90s marketing of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, I don't know if we're ever going to get that back with the success they've had now, with them kind of going back to some of the classic marketing of just the W logo with no football streaking through it. So we'll see.
Well, and I will say, though, and I'm glad you brought up some of those points, like where they need direction. I will say that internally, I believe within the organization, based on some of the members that I've talked to, some of the things that I've noticed, some of the press out there and media, This team has found an internal direction.
Okay, that's good.
Dwayne Mandrusiak is back this season for his 50th at long last. So they're restoring those culture pieces. They're restoring bone, as we say, Brotherhood of Nasty, Eskimos or Elks. But they're restoring bone. They're restoring that family culture. Larry Thompson has done a great job of that, and they're doing that internally now. We still need to see this translate to the turf, and I'm sure that the locker room
Yep.
culture is getting better. Even
That's good.
speaking with Luches Purifoy last year at the Grey Cup, he even stated that the locker room was like a brotherhood by the end of it. So these guys are playing for each other. These guys are being a team. These guys are finding cohesion in other ways, but it needs to translate to the turf. And at this rate, I would say that the Double E are bleeding fans now with having an identity crisis on game day and in-game presentation. Yeah, I mean it's hard to kind of convey what you're doing and what you're saying if your brand in the building and your brand everywhere else kind of looks like it's a shift between the past and the present. And believe me, with the 75th, I think they did great. I think they could have probably used this more in the 75th. Maybe even these jerseys instead of the icon jerseys. And I do like the icons, and they are a throwback, but the reality is that this team has lost its identity. And I mean, as the Edmonton Elks, we kind of knew what their identity was. We know that they aren't necessarily big winners or anything, but they had a bit of an identity there. Now, that whole Elks branding is gone. So it's very interesting. I will say it's extremely weird. I mean, this is kind of the branding that you're seeing everywhere, which when it came out, I'm a big fan. I am a big fan of this branding. I think it's great. I'd like a little bit more elk because that's what the team is also named after. And I mean, you don't see that logo anywhere, even really as a third logo. It's just mostly like old merch now. So
There's not even even like a little elk antler, even just somewhere, just kind of smallly put anywhere. But
the football antler logo, right? That's something that you could technically use, and I believe maybe from Paul Almeida or another source on Twitter. I was at the game, I didn't see the bin, but there's only the laundry bins now that really have Elks logo. Other than that, everything else has been rebranded, torn down. It's weird, right? It's weird being a fan in the stadium from two different eras, and you're kind of seeing it mashed together. But like,
in less than 10 years that kind of they've made this change, and now it looks like they might be going back in less than a span of 10 years. So it hasn't even been that long since the original change to the Elks name and branding.
oh, exactly, in less than 5 years. And let's say this team does pull it out the mud this season. The team starts to get better by the end of it. The team pulls together some good wins, maybe has a playoff chance. Uh, and maybe if this team goes 500, right, it builds you that momentum to get forward to next season and to have a way better season. But in the event that this team gets named Eskimos, and they all of a sudden have a winning season coinciding with it, well, how great would that be for fans of the old name as well? So it's kind of weird how things are playing out. And I mean, we still got a lot of football left in the season, so anything can happen, but it would be weird, I will say.
So, Scout, I do have a question for you. So looking at the staff, I don't know if Carter knows this, but Jordan Masimic was actually with the team from 16 to 19 before he went to BC. Now, with how much success that the BC Lions had with him as their offensive coordinator, do you think that was mainly because he inherited that good BC team and fans just had over expectations from what he had with BC to now in Edmonton?
No, I got two words for you here. It's going to be
I thought WWE. I thought DX suck it instantly. I'm sorry. We have two words for you.
two words for you. Section X. Okay, it's Section X. So
That's why.
that's what we say. Section X.
Nice.
Better than the alternative. Family friendly. But no, what it is it's Michael Riley. That's plain and simple. What he inherited was Michael Riley. So he was my MR13's offensive coordinator for those years in Edmonton. And then he ended up going over to BC where Michael Riley was once again quarterback. So, and then of course you take a look at play styles. Well, Michael Riley kind of mentored Nathan Rourke, was able to transfer a lot of that, same playing style and with the same offense and everything else. It was just a seamless transition for Nathan Rourke, and you can see still in Nathan Rourke's game some of those traits. So I think Michael Riley, and then you take a look at the problems that Edmonton's having right now. Jordan Maksimic is trying to figure out how to make a great offensive game plan based around Trey Ford. And I can tell you right now, that's a challenge. When you're trying to weigh, scramble, when you're trying to weigh some of these things, you just do not know how Trey Ford is going to play on any given night.
Question I do have, dual threat like Trey Ford in the sense of where you have a very kind of mobile QB. Have you found that it's been difficult to kind of find, I guess, a playbook that really just kind of fits really well with his style or whatever? Or has that been difficult? Kind of, I mean, you talked earlier about some of the difficulties with the offensive line. Offensive lineman, every offensive lineman definitely has their specialty, whether it's in the pass block or whether is like kind of a rush block. I was certainly at least when I played, because I was an offensive lineman when I played in high school, I was a lot better in pass block than I was rush blocking. Although it was really funny because I played center the majority of the time. If I played guard, being the pulling guard's kind of fun because you get to just absolutely run over someone a lot smaller than you for one play. But has that been a bit of a concern or a difficulty with a quarterback like Trey Ford?
Yeah, I mean, if based on what I'm seeing, it's a combination of things. I mean, the offensive line hasn't been the greatest. Trey Ford, he also has that tendency to scramble out of the pocket, and something that he has regressed on as a fan watching, obviously, something that I do believe he has kind of regressed with is getting his reads in. Now, with Montreal's defense in this last game, Montreal's defense took away that first read a lot. And Trey Ford panicked, scrambled out of the pocket. In the second half, we did see him step up into it. Now, should there be a little bit of, run plays with Trey or let's say design plays? Should there be more design plays based on his legs? I wouldn't mind seeing that, especially with his skill set. So, yes, I mean, there is a bit of an issue there when it comes to this offensive play calling. It looks a little bit vanilla. It looks like this team has not, made it to that comfortable point where they can do some of those installs. And we usually hear the word installs quite a bit. Haven't heard it so much lately, but you can tell where, this game plan is not necessarily tailored to Trey Ford. Is it going to take games? Yes. And that's where, that second week bye, it does kind of throw a wrench because they had a little bit of momentum coming out of that BC game, even though they lost.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they seem to keep doing this, and then when you stall out and sure, make the argument that it's garbage time, and sometimes it is, but even in this last Montreal game, there wasn't garbage time until really the last, 10 minutes, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. So they are starting to get there. They are starting to find some of that, but I do think that the offensive play calling isn't quite tailored to Trey Ford yet. It's going to take Jordan Maksimic a little bit of time to get there. And then with the offensive line, it is a bit confusing why they aren't really performing, at a level that we saw at the end of last year. Could be because there's a couple changes now with David Beard injured. It's going to be interesting to see, our rookie, I believe, an offensive line is coming in off the practice roster. That announcement was made today. So, the offensive line, they're already kind of having some problems. It may get worse. Maybe they find a step here, but going up against Willie Jefferson and some of those guys on the defensive line for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, I'm a little bit concerned. I think that's where some of my concerns lie, especially.
Tank Engine, that's the guy. That's my guy.
Hey, and Willie Jefferson loves playing against Edmonton, so I have a feeling he's going to try to ball out in this one.
Absolutely.
So it wouldn't be a proper podcast without stirring up some controversy. So
What are you about to say?
the question is, how long of a leash do you give Trey Ford before you put Cody for?
Okay, we're good. I was worried there, Rick.
What do you think I was going to say?
When Ricky was like, I'm going to start a controversy, I'm like, oh no. Oh
I'll give him
no.
that controversy. Like,
Okay, fair enough.
you only give him to like week 9, and then if he
That begs
hasn't
the
won a
leash,
game, you
yeah.
say, okay, let's put Fajardo in.
To be honest, I believe that the Edmonton Elks are going to be riding Trey Ford as much as they possibly can to truly unlock his full potential, to see the ceiling, to see the floor. Trey Ford needs to be figured out, plain and simple. Now,
For too many years, we need to know if it's an answer or if it's a not.
and he's never had a full season, right? I think the Edmonton Elks, they went in signing Cody Fajardo, maybe believing that Trey Ford was going to get injured as opposed to get pulled for bad quarterback play. Now, there's still things that you can kind of point to in terms of Trey Ford's performance, whys and hows, but as far as how many games, yeah, I mean, I think that really it would come to a point of having to save your season. And if you think Trey Ford has truly shown you that he cannot be QB1, which he's already committed to being QB1 for 3 years, right? So you take a look at Cody Fajardo, who's a proven journeyman in this league, somebody that's just a couple years out from a Grey Cup here. If you need to save your season, you're going to make that change. I'm going to say at 0-6, if you don't win the next 6 games and Trey Ford truly tanks here, you may put in Cody Fajardo in a means of accountability to get Trey Ford to watch from the sidelines. Maybe try out Cody Fajardo just to see if it's Cody Fajardo's performance that will do better here, or if it's a Trey Ford issue, whatever it may be. Sometimes you have to do that conditioning stint. Doesn't matter what league, it doesn't matter what player. I think at an 0-6 or an 0-7, that would be when that happens.
The only other question I think I had was, I guess, kind of back to a little bit what we were saying earlier. Is you had mentioned kind of that in terms of regarding the branding, that there's definitely kind of a divide between fans that were kind of getting behind this new vision that the team was looking at, and then obviously those that were very disgruntled from the change. Not necessarily even just always the change in the name, but in kind of the branding shifting away. And so, like, what kind of challenges would you see this team run into if they actually do go the full mile and revert back to the Edmonton Eskimos? Do you imagine a lot of pushback or whatever? Like, I almost wondered if there would be pushback, but pushback from like almost outside Edmonton, where maybe people who weren't going to go to the games anyway are upset with it, but the people that actually are going to the games and the people that have been fans of this team for a while and were a part of what is to the team revenue essentially. I'm just kind of curious about the impact based on what you're seeing kind of on the ground in Edmonton.
Oh, that's a fantastic question. Now, I do think that you're going to see a mixed bag within Edmonton. From outside of Edmonton, there are supporters of the old name, but then there are people that understand why the name was changed to begin with, and I think that that's kind of like that's where all of this started. Basically, is people that understood that the name needs to be changed, and those opinions aren't going to change. So you have to recognize right away these people will always dislike the old name. Within Edmonton, you have a market, and that is your immediate market. And I believe that on sponsorship, it's going to be a mixed bag. I think that some sponsors may step out, but I think that some sponsors may step in, and there are a lot of business owners that like the old name. So I think that they'll be fine on funding. When it comes to the CFL, I think that the CFL will have a conversation. But as far as what Farhan, I believe, has said, or Dave Naylor, or any of the insiders, there's a very slim chance that the CFL actually intervenes on any sort of name change.
That the CFL is kind of like they're gonna do what they're gonna do,
Your team,
and
you
as long as it doesn't, as long as they have a plan to make money and be a successful market, there's no planning on the league actually doing anything about this, which I can't say I'm surprised about. I think the only way the CFL would actually ever try to intervene with something like this is where they're like, listen, you're going to lose us a ton of money. It's going to create all kinds of problems Whereas I think the CFL is kind of like they're Edmonton's going to do what Edmonton's going to do, and then
Well,
we'll
and
see
I
for
mean,
them.
the CFL is going to see backlash if it does happen, if it does come to fruition. The CFL will see backlash. There will be people that speak up against the old name, and if the team does rebrand to Eskimos, then you're gonna see, you know, quite a bit of backlash in the media. At the same time,
Yep.
we're talking about a billionaire owner who owns his team. He is going to shape it the way that he wants, and as long as he's not going to lose an exponential amount of money, and as long as he's not going to be taking loss after loss year over year because of this, then he's going to move forward with it. He's still a business owner, and he's a very smart business owner. Larry Thompson is really good stuff. I think he's doing great and wonders for the team and for the culture, and bringing back certain pieces that they've been missing, quite frankly, for way too long. But you know, in my opinion, I don't care for the name, and I will tell you right now, like even Catherine, she came in as an Elks fan. Kids are coming in as Elks fans. There are certain people that are coming in as Elks fans, and then they're accustomed and used to and kind of love the Elks branding, right? It's a very very mixed bag in Edmonton, and I've even talked to super long time supporters, people that have been behind this team through the good, the bad, and the ugly, and a lot of those supporters don't want to see the Eskimos name come back. But yes, but then you take a look at the flip side. Well, there some people recognize what has happened, why it's this way, and you know
That's fair.
we've all kind of kissed the old name goodbye as well, because that's kind of what we've been told to do, right? Now with Chris Morris coming out saying you can say Eskimos and you can proceed forward with recognizing the old history, I think that's maybe saying Eskimos. I don't know. I think people are still offended about it, but I think that recognizing the old history as such, recognizing the old Eskimos way and whatnot, like that's all great.
I don't think I think it's kind of good in the sense of even if they don't go back to the old name, in the sense of that it's not so taboo that they can even say the word, where they're able to kind of honor the history but still move forward. And I think that's where I find it a little bit interesting as well, is in the sense of because you have to realize, I guess, with me being in Winnipeg again, I'm not seeing all this stuff on the ground in Edmonton. I'm not talking to people. I see the keyboard warriors. That's what I see, and so that's I think where that again, this is why we wanted to have you on because that's what we see. But obviously, that's not the full picture, whether going one way or the other. So.
Well, we also have to remember too, there is a full on Facebook group that says Eskimos, Edmonton Eskimos is our name. Thousands of group members in there. You have sponsors that like the Eskimos name. You do have a large public outcry, but what we're starting to see now, especially on social media, is we are starting to see people fight back against those that want the old name. So you're kind of seeing that go back and forth. But even, you know, if you take a look at Facebook, and we use this as an example again, the Edmonton Elks Facebook group, it's just titled Edmonton Elks. You know, you got thousands of people in there. If anybody comes in with the name stuff, they try to shut it down right away, and you know they're just like, hey, look, we're here for football. But then you take a look at this Edmonton Eskimos is our name group, and it's less thousands, but a very passionate group. So the people that miss this name, just like the Washington Redskins, now Commanders, just like the Cleveland Indians, now Guardians, you will always have these group of people that really, really want that old name back. And unfortunately, or fortunately, however way you want to look at this, we're a neutral party here. Um, Whichever way you want to look at it, you are going to have this argument back and forth every day of the week, and it doesn't matter even if you do change the name now. You're going to have people wanting the Elks name back. So it's all
Changes happened, and because of everything that's kind of happened again with other teams that you had just mentioned, this is no matter which way the name ever goes, the debate will never end amongst those who want to debate it, who feel that they need to debate it on an online forum or wherever it is. So
well, and I mean, there will be fans of both. There are fans and athletes. Fans and athletes have played exclusively or watched exclusively or been a part of this organization in somehow, some way exclusively, you know, under the last 4 years. So it's it's very interesting. And there's also players that have been there through Eskimos to Elks, and then they're probably going to be going back to Eskimos, or maybe going back to Eskimos. And I mean, right now, like we said, this team resembles everything Eskimos, nothing of Elks anymore, and we're in this in between stage. It just sparks a fire. Even bringing back Nanook and the Eskimos fire truck, the classic fire truck, it just fuels a fire, and now this fire will never end. So I think it's a matter of now Larry Thompson picking and choosing an identity and going forward with it, sticking with it, and building upon it for the sake of his own CFL organization and the health in the future. And people will buy season tickets if the name does change. There will be people that come back and support the team strictly because of a name change, which, to be frank, the name really doesn't matter. I wear Eskimos gear. We have Elks herd jerseys. We have Elks.
Stop reporting on it in the like we cover all 9 teams no matter what they're called. So
exactly. I mean, if it's football, if it's CFL football, and especially based in Edmonton, that's what I'll watch. I still watch Golden Bears. I still watch everything. I do not care what the name is. If it's green and gold football or local football, we're all about it. But at the end of the day, this new look Elks is very different, very weird. It's a big throwback. So, I mean, it's familiar in that sense. But I think we do have an identity crisis, and I think we're going to find out what happens at the end of the season with this one.
Concludes it. Is there anything else, anything you got there, Rick? In Ticats corner this whole video, so I got to make sure that we got everything covered.
No,
so.
I've...
Fair enough. Well, we appreciate you coming on, Scout. Is there anything else that you got there, Scout, before we wrap this up? Any plugs? No. Plug the show. Plug the show.
The Elks Call goes live on Shotgun Sports Network every Wednesday or Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Mountain. This week we will have U of A Golden Bears Chevy Thomas. He's going to be on talking about raw development camps and everything that they do, raw sports. They're really good stuff, and they're basically coming in to our major cities and some lesser known cities and doing a bunch of football development camps, get the grassroots movement going at a different level. So we're going to be talking to him about that, and we're obviously going to talk about this last game against Montreal at home, and then we're going to be talking about this game against your Winnipeg Blue Bombers there, Carter. But once again, that's Shotgun Sports Network, Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. Mountain, and swing on by. Sometimes we do giveaways too, so maybe you win something.
You heard it here first. So make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe if you have not already. And Rick, we'll put this up on Spotify. So if you're
sure,
listening to this on
it's
Spotify, make sure you give us 5 stars. We appreciate all the support. Again, on Shotgun Sports Network, go support the Elks herd, the Elks Call. Support Scout and everything that he does. So peace, love, and positivity, all you wonderful people at home. We will see you guys next time.